Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Performing Arts Global Exchange Presenter Info webinar. My name is Robin Bush, and I am Program Officer International for Mid-Atlantic Arts. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am speaking to you today from Baltimore, Maryland, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Piscataway Conoy Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and future. I manage 2 grant programs with an international focus here at Mid-Atlantic Arts, and today we're going to be learning about the Performing Arts Global Exchange Program. Also joining me today on our webinar is Program Associate International Andrew Olson, and if you contact either of us about the program, we'll be happy to answer any of your questions. So before we get into the weeds too much, I just want to share a little bit about Mid-Atlantic Arts for those of you who might not know that much about us. Mid-Atlantic Arts is one of the 6 regional arts organizations in the United States, whose member states and territories include Delaware, the District of Columbia, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Virginia, and West Virginia. To give you some idea of who we are within the arts service organization ecosystem, you have your local arts agencies, state arts agencies, regional arts organizations such as ourselves, and finally, the National Endowment for the Arts. The relationships between those tiers is not a hierarchy, and we all work together to make the United States a more vibrant place for the arts. Performing Arts Global Exchange is one of those efforts, and it is available to presenters nationwide. That means you do not have to be living in the Mid-Atlantic region to participate in Performing Arts Global Exchange. We will have a Q&A period at the end of today's webinar, so you may wish to hold questions until then, but it's completely up to you. If you'd like to ask a question, simply type it into that Q&A box, access through the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and then we'll work down the list and try to answer all of the questions at the end of the webinar. Performing Arts Global Exchange, which you'll hear me refer to today as PAGE, everyone loves an acronym, is a Mid-Atlantic Arts grant program in cooperation with the National Endowment for the Arts for performing arts presenters nationwide. PAGE is designed to increase the availability of international performing arts programming throughout the United States and to promote greater understanding of other cultures through the performing arts. Presenting international artists offers an opportunity to engage in the rich diversity of cultural expression throughout the world, but it also requires resources that aren't always available. Travel expenses, visas, and routing are often barriers to presenting international artists, especially in the US more remote communities. PAGE seeks to ease some of those burdens for US presenters by working with international curators to identify a region's most exciting tour-ready artists and provide grant support to bring them to the United States. PAGE especially seeks to support performances in communities with reduced access to international performing arts due to geography or other features. Today, we will cover all the introductory aspects of Performing Arts Global Exchange, how the artists are selected, who is on the roster, and how to book an artist and receive a grant award. So let's start by talking briefly about how artists are selected to be involved in the PAGE program. In the program's first year, the focus region was Canada and Mexico. And in the current year of recently announced artists, the focus is on Australia and New Zealand. These focus regions change either every year or every 2 years. Things have been a little bit in flux with the pandemic, as you might imagine, and are selected by Mid-Atlantic Arts in collaboration with the National Endowment for the Arts. After a region is selected, Mid-Atlantic Arts and the NEA select curators living and working in the region of focus who have expertise in the performing arts of that region. These curators nominate artists to be considered for the touring roster. So we're not just sitting in our ivory tower picking out these artists themselves. It's important for us to really tap into the expertise in these countries. We then gather feedback on these artists via an online survey of US presenters, and then Mid-Atlantic Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts determine the final roster by giving consideration to presenter feedback and the program objectives. So the curatorial process is a very democratic process. We do like to have many voices weigh in on the artists selected for the program. So we're going to step back in time before we move forward. Let's just briefly go over the phenomenal artist Paige is bringing to the United States in our first iteration of the program. So as I mentioned earlier, the program's first years focused on artists from Canada and Mexico. Artists included the company La Serpiente, performing treaties about the line, as well as music ensembles Lemon Bucket Orchestra, Vox Sambu, William Prince, and Silvana Estrada. And for theater, we have Seña y Verbo, Teatro de Sordos, performing music for your eyes. Though these artist tours were initially planned for 2020-2021, these touring acts were delayed by COVID-19, and now these tours are planned for 2022. I'm sharing this with you all to let you know that some grant funding is still available for these shows for US presenters who might want to join existing tours, though you'll need to be quick. We are wrapping up this process. So I do know that La Serpiente, Seña y Verbo, perhaps even Lemon Bucket Orchestra, I believe they all have remaining funds. So if you are interested in joining any of those tours and tapping into those remaining grant funds, please do reach out to agents by February 25th. Additional details about all of these companies, including their agents, are available at midatlanticarts.org. Moving forward, we are looking here at the 2022-2023 artist roster. Now, this new roster of artists includes companies based in Australia and New Zealand. The touring window for these artists is July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Though I will say that most of the tours are shaping up for the spring of 2023. And when I say spring, I mean Northern Hemisphere spring in this case. We'll take a bit more time going through these artists now one by one. And Andrew, because we do have, you know how these things are on Zoom, technical glitches can occur. So we're going to have Andrew just share the links to the video samples of each artist in the chat so that you're able to go check them out directly from your own browser and not risk us giving you a video feed through Zoom that could be a little clunky here. Additional artist details like tech writers and contact info for the booking agents can be found at our website. So the first company featured this year is Adamira Dance Company. It was formed as a collective in 2000 to bring young Maori perspectives and experiences to the stage. This piece that they're presenting is a Maori contemporary dance work of legacy and succession, commemorating the 21st anniversary of the Adamira Dance Company. He Whake is the octopus, a symbol of strength, resilience, and love, and a powerful tohu for many oceanic peoples, appearing in different mythologies. Created in collaboration by 8 leading Maori choreographic practitioners and embodied by 8 dancers, He Whake speaks to the different dimensions of human experience, each symbolized by one tentacle of this mighty guardian. So I encourage you to check out that link there that Andrew has linked to at YouTube. And you can save it for later if you don't want to watch it, and as we move through these right now. Bangarra Dance Theatre. Bangarra Dance Theatre is a company of professional Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander performers. As one of Australia's leading performing arts companies, they share their culture with communities and audiences across Australia and the world. Drawing on 65,000 years of culture, they create powerful works of theater with dance, music, poetry, and design. They will be touring in the United States with their project Waru, Journey of the Small Turtle, an interactive and immersive introduction to Torres Strait Islander culture and dance for families. This brand new show, Waru, provides teachers, parents, and caregivers with a unique opportunity to open up conversations about climate change, caring for the environment, and the traditional values, cultural values of respect and reciprocity. I encourage you to check out the Bangarra Dance Theatre link in the chat box. Trick of the Light, back into New Zealand. Trick of the Light is an award-winning theatre company from New Zealand. They are renowned for their engaging, nuanced stories and inventive design. The Grey Gull is a show without words about death, love, and monsters. After a girl's granny passes away, she starts to suspect she's been being pursued by the smoke demon shapeshifter of the old woman's stories. In the tradition of Spirited Away and Coraline, The Grey Gull is a gorgeously rendered dark fantasy for older children and adults. Andrew's added that link, make sure to check it out. Transitioning into music. Acclaimed First Nations vocalist Emma Donovan and rhythm combo The Putbacks first burst onto the Australian scene in 2014, announcing a new voice in Australian soul music. After 6 years, the band reunited for the Crossover Tour, where they performed music from their critically acclaimed 2020 album of the same name. And then in 2021, they released the top-selling knockout Under These Streets. Throughout the performance, Emma tells stories so audiences can learn and discover a part of Australia's history, explaining the lyrics and words of the songs and providing an understanding of traditional Indigenous language. I also just found out this morning that Emma Donovan and the Putbacks will be opening for another artist touring through the United States during the summer of 2021 in June. So presenters who might be in a position to see the work live, definitely reach out to Andre at Indigenous Performance Productions to find out a little bit more information about the possibility of seeing her live in the United States before she's making her solo tour with the Page program in 2022. Nairi. Nairi has a career that crosses genre and art forms. The recipient of 4 ARIA Award nominations, those are Australia's Grammys, an FBI Radio SMAC Award for Best Live Act, and the inaugural Australian Women in Music Award for Artistic Excellence, Nairi's albums have been celebrated around the world. Nairi melds electronic, neo-soul, gospel, and big pop sounds, strained through the lens of a First Nations Papuan New Guinean songwriter. One moment will be a pop banger, and the next she will break your heart. She puts on a fantastic show. I'd encourage you guys all to check out her link right there for Nairi. It's really a stunning lineup this year. I hope you can consider participating in the program. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about how presenters receive grants through this program. Of course, if you want to learn any more about these artists, I would encourage you to check out our website, contact their agents directly, and they'll have additional work samples for you to enjoy. So now that we've seen that artist roster, let's talk about eligibility for the program. First, you have to be based anywhere in the United States and its territories. And second, you must be a 501c3 nonprofit organization or a unit of state or local government. So fiscal sponsorship is not permitted for this program. This means that the contracting organization will also be the grantee organization. Lastly, you need to be in good standing with Mid-Atlantic Arts. And all we mean by this is that you should have no overdue required reports or grant documents. In addition to presenter eligibility, there are some requirements for the engagement as well. Presenting organizations must contract with a page roster artist for at least one public performance and offer at least one community engagement activity that builds appreciation for the performance or art form and provides the public with opportunities for direct interaction with the artists. This program is all about creating cross-cultural exchange between your audience and international artists. So these engagement opportunities are extremely important to achieving that goal. To that end, community engagement activities must involve the featured artists and may include, but are not limited to, master classes, lecture demonstrations, workshops, panel discussions. We do encourage you to be creative with the community engagement component. And let's go ahead and talk about some exciting possibilities. So for this particular program with this new roster of artists from Australia and New Zealand, you'll have the chance to offer extremely rich community engagement opportunities. There's the potential here for slow touring if you want an artist to have a residency in your community with multiple performances or engagement activities. We're also excited to invite many First Nations artists to tour through the program this year, and we're committed to cultural safety. We're really looking to partner with presenters that are excited by the possibilities of cultural exchange, learning, and conversation that can be achieved by engaging with the PAGE program this year. The program this year will also provide resources and toolkits on cultural safety, and presenters taking part in the program will benefit from the involvement of cultural facilitators who will help ensure your engagement is safe, impactful, and thoughtful for the artists and audiences involved. I'm happy to share that there are no restrictions on the number of PAGE grants an eligible presenter can receive in a given year, provided that each engagement meets program guidelines. You can book multiple artists from the current roster, or you could even book an artist from the Mexico-Canada roster and from the Australia-New Zealand roster. Each engagement is considered a separate award, and documentation would be required for each. Please note that fee support grants are based on demand and are available only as long as limited funds will allow. So we do encourage you to secure those engagements as soon as possible. Lastly, grants also must be matched on a one-to-one basis. So this match must not include federal funds, and the grants and the required match may not be used to match other federal funds, whether they are received directly from a federal agency or indirectly, such as through a state agency or other entity. So let's talk through how the granting process works. To give you kind of an example of this here, first, a presenter discusses a performance with the agent. They come to an agreement about the fee. In this example, a fee of $8,000. Mid-Atlantic Arts supplies a grant in the amount of $4,000. And then the presenter would be paying only $4,000 in this case. So 50% from Mid-Atlantic, 50% from the presenter, for a total fee to the artist of $8,000. Since the artist fee is paid half by the grant and half by the presenter, the requirement of a one-to-one match is inherently met. So don't overthink the match too much, because you will be matching it because the grant award is up to 50%. To initially participate in the program, you do not need to complete an application for PAGE. Simply review the artist roster and contact the booking agent directly to negotiate terms of the engagement, including that artist involved community engagement activity, as well as potential fee subsidies. Offer letters need to be sent to agents by April 25th, 2022, and must include the presenter's name, contact information, public performance and community engagement dates, negotiated inclusive fee, and recommended grant support amount as negotiated with the artist's agent. After the booking period ends on April 25th, 2022, agents provide Mid-Atlantic Arts with offer letters, and Mid-Atlantic Arts contacts eligible presenters directly with instructions to receive fee subsidies. Presenters must then complete a brief online form with details about their organization and the engagement. We encourage the participation of presenters from a variety of eligible organizations, including organizations that serve populations that are considered underserved by the National Endowment for the Arts, such as those whose populations to experience the arts are limited by ethnicity, economics, geography, or disability, organizations with small and medium-sized budgets, organizations from rural to urban communities, and organizations that may be receiving funding from Mid-Atlantic Arts in cooperation with the National Endowment for the Arts for the first time. Presenters reaching communities underserved by the arts will be given priority consideration for support. Priority will also be given to presenters reaching communities that otherwise would have little access to live performance experiences with artists from abroad, such as those located outside of large urban centers. All eligible presenters that contract in an eligible engagement, regardless of priority status, will be eligible for a fee subsidy grant award. Fee subsidy grants will vary and may support up to 50% of the inclusive fee negotiated between the agent and the presenter. Grants generally range from between $2,000 and $8,000. All right, so before we move into answering some of your questions, I just want to share a few things about how the program has remained flexible during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we realized that things could change on a dime. So we are offering virtual performance opportunities in addition to in-person engagements. We've also had flexibility around scheduling these tours when necessary, including switching to virtual options. So we just want to assure everyone that there is a fair amount of flexibility here. We've seen a lot of rescheduling occur with the Canada-Mexico tours, and we're hoping that that does not continue, but be assured that if worse were to come to worst, we would also be able to support a virtual engagement. Finally, we strongly encourage shared risk contracting, including using more equitable contracting language and including terminology about how an engagement might change if flexibility due to COVID-19 is required. We strongly encourage presenters to have frank conversations with agents along these lines, as we saw that it was a very tough position for everyone to see the fallout when the pandemic initially hit. So we encourage those conversations to continue. All right. I really appreciate everyone being here today. We do have a few more minutes if we can answer any questions for you. My colleague Andrew and I are happy to answer any remaining questions that you might have. You can type the questions in the Q&A feature of Zoom. And while folks are typing their questions, I also want to encourage you to sign up for the Mid-Atlantic Arts newsletter on midatlanticarts.org if you aren't receiving emails from us already. And when you sign up for the newsletter online, you will receive targeted emails for grant opportunities and reminders about upcoming program deadlines. We don't automatically add you to our mailing list for signing up for this webinar, so please make sure to sign up if you would like to receive updates. So when you visit the website, just click on that upper right-hand corner where it says sign up for a newsletter. All right, so what questions can I answer for you?